This is Lori. She's going to take over the event. Governor, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome to Concord, New Hampshire, and we're very pleased to have you. We're very interested. I got to tell you, as a longtime school board member, Maryland Public Schools are #1 5 years in a row. We're going to have a conversation after this, how you do that.
Great.
But I want to bring up Rob Werner. Rob is going to do the formal introductions for Governor O'Malley, and thank you so much for coming to our state.
Lori, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, my name is Rob Werner. I serve on the City Council here in Concord, and partly for that reason, I'm very pleased to welcome Governor O'Malley to the City of Concord. He's a former City Councilor himself, so he really knows the guts of government, what it takes. I think that Martin O'Malley really represents new thinking for the Democratic Party. Served as Mayor of Baltimore, served as Governor of Maryland for 8 years, really pioneered ways to use data to solve problems and to make people's lives better. He's got a strong progressive record, very competent manager. In fact, Washington Monthly named Governor O'Malley as the best manager in government today. And I really think that, again, given my experience as a city councilor and on the city level, this whole idea of really trying to figure out how to make people's lives better by using data, real information, has a lot to recommend it, and Governor O'Malley can speak to that, and I think folks around the nation can learn a lot about what he's done and how that can really improve people's lives. Because at the bottom line, that's what it's really all about, is improving people's lives, giving them opportunity. And over the 8 years of Governor O'Malley's governorship, I think he really achieved that for the people of Maryland, and I hope that people around the country will listen to him as he travels around the nation. Governor O'Malley.
Rob, thank you. Thanks very, very much. Let's give it up for Rob again. Thank you, Rob. I recently passed up an opportunity, I suppose you'd call it that, because someone, a very esteemed, longest-serving woman in the United States Senate from Maryland, Barbara Mikulski, retired and created a vacancy in our state. And some asked me, well, why don't you run for that? I said, oh, I have already served in the highest deliberative body in the land. I was a member of the Baltimore City Council for 8 years. And I enjoyed my time on the Baltimore City Council. And for 8 years, Rob, we worked on those issues that really matter to people, and those issues at the municipal level and in our cities that people can see. I mean, talk all you like. Either your city's becoming cleaner and safer, or it's not becoming cleaner and safer, and all the talk in the world isn't going to change that reality. So it's wonderful to be here with all of you, and the Merrimack County Democrats. It's good to be back in Concord. And Ms. Carey, thank you for having me here. And I want to thank the owner of this establishment. Make sure you buy a book or magazine on your way out, too, while you're here. There he is. So it's wonderful to be here with all of you. And this is not my first trip to New Hampshire. It was my honor to be able to help you in your campaign to elect a terrific governor in Maggie Hassan, who is doing an outstanding job for your state. And Maggie is in that vanguard of Democratic governors and innovative men and women who believe in actually doing the things that work to achieve better results. And I understand your unemployment's now been driven down to 4% in your state, which is great. I see new industries coming up. Representative Dan Feltes is here. Senator Dan Feltes is here. And I know, Dan, that you're very much in tune with the innovation economy here in New Hampshire, and understand the sort of investments we have to make in education and improving the skills of our people in order to achieve the better future we want for our kids. So look, let me share a few thoughts with you, since you all came out on this cold night. Not that cold, right? You know, obviously it's warmer than it is in Maryland. Let me ask you a question off the bat. show of hands, how many of you believe very firmly, to Rob's point, that you've enjoyed a better quality of life than your parents and grandparents? Raise your hand. How many of you believe just as firmly that your children and your grandchildren will enjoy a better quality of life than you have? A couple of you. But that's the great anxiety that's on the center of this table we share as Americans. It is the anxiety and the apprehension that's at the center of every family's kitchen table. Because we still have yet really to fix the things that are holding our economy back. The things that are keeping us from all being able to raise our hands on that second question with some confidence that actually, because of our hard work, that we'll be able to see our children and grandchildren live lives with fuller and better opportunity. So I wanted to share some thoughts with you about this story that we have the ability to write together. Because we are Americans. And we make our own future and we make our own destiny by the choices that we make and by the actions that we take. And that's what we've done for the longer arc of our history. And I would submit to you, in some places we've been making some better choices than in others. In our state, when the recession hit, rather than try to cut our way to prosperity, we invested more to educate our children at higher and better levels. We invested more in the infrastructure of our state, water, wastewater, transportation infrastructure, to create more jobs. We invested more to accelerate the innovation curve and the new and emerging industries and the skills of our people to fill those jobs. And as a result, we maintained the highest median income all the way through the recession, and we achieved from the bottom of the recession a faster rate of job creation than our neighbors north and south of us. And we also achieved, for the first time ever, but in the middle of a recession, the distinction of being named the best public schools in America 5 years in a row. And oh, by the way, we also did a better job than any other state at holding down the cost of college tuition, going 4 years in a row without a penny's increase to college tuition. None of those things happened by chance. They were all the product of choices. And quite honestly, some of the choices individually were not very popular. But it's not about popularity. It's about making the better choices so we can achieve better results for our kids. There are times in our country's history sometimes when it seems like our future and like the American dream that we share is actually hanging by a thread. But it is also true that that last thread might well be the strongest thread. It is the thread that unites us around the beliefs we share in the dignity of every single person, that belief we share in our own responsibility to advance our common good, and by our understanding that we're actually all in this together. You know, the great poet laureate of America, Bruce Springsteen, once asked, what happens to a dream if it's a lie? Is it something worse? We have an obligation to actually make that American dream come alive and to make that dream true again. And we do that when we educate our kids at higher and better levels. We do that when we actually stick to our principles and fight for the America that we carry in our hearts. We do that when we're able to allow our seniors to live with dignity and respect and not have to choose between their food and their medicine. We do that when we reveal the truly compassionate and generous people we are by reforming our immigration laws so that all Americans can live in the full light of this land of opportunity. I mean, think about it. There is no other country on the planet that is known in as many tongues all around the world as ours is, as the land of opportunity. We built up the strongest middle class in America. And in recent years, we've made some bad decisions that have undermined the strength of that middle class. Let's acknowledge the good news and the bad news, shall we? The good news is that after inheriting one of the worst situations of any president in modern times, President Obama has made better decisions so that we have now had 60 months in a row of positive job creation for our country. So that's the really good news. But the challenge that remains is this. We have to acknowledge that actually incomes have been going down now for 12 years. And that is the first time that's happened this side of World War II. And that's why people can't raise their hands in answer to that second question. We need to make better choices to make our wages actually start going up again as a nation. Now for 30 years we were sold this sort of false theory about how our economy actually works. It was simple. It sounded good. And there was a great actor that initially promoted it 30 years ago. And in essence, the theory kind of went like this. That the quicker you can concentrate wealth at the very top, accumulate capital in the hands of the few, the more you can keep wages suppressed, and the more you take the reins off of Wall Street speculation, we'll call it. That's best for the economy because eventually that cloud of capital accumulates, it bursts, and jobs rain from the sky. But that didn't happen, did it? No. In fact, after we repealed in 1999 Glass-Steagall that let our banks, which you and I insure, by the way, against their losses, that let our banks speculate recklessly with our money, we had a couple of big busts in the stock market. And after each of them, it was like a bad nightmare game of musical chairs. Because even more wealth got concentrated at the top. And yet when everybody, the music stopped and people went scrambling for jobs, there were fewer jobs. And the second bust happened, it nearly brought us to our knees into the Second Great Depression. And at the same time, we failed to raise the minimum wage, which was something we would do to keep pace with inflation. We failed to do common sense things that the president now has the power to do, even without Congress, like raising the threshold for overtime pay. Back in the 70s, 2/3 of workers regularly received overtime pay. But when you don't adjust it up, you're now in a situation where hardly anybody gets to be rewarded for their hard work. And that's the situation in which we find ourselves. So look, I truly believe that our best days are ahead of us as a people. There was a headline in the Washington Post, I think, that announced that, was it the Washington Post? I think it was the Washington Post. No, that was a different one. That the American dream is, was it the Times? There's somebody here from the Post who can correct the record for us. Let's just say that there was a headline in a Washington publication that said the American dream is dead. This dream is not dead. You make it come alive by the love that you show for your kids and for your neighbors. You make it come alive when you work hard to give your kids a better future. You make it come alive when you make the better choices as voting, participating citizens in this republic to elect leaders that fight for that better future. And so the next time an election rolls around and somebody, and a little kid asks you afterwards who you voted for, you tell them, I voted for you. And when you talk to somebody whose family now has health insurance that did not have it before, you can tell them when they ask you who you voted for, tell them, I voted for you. And when you talk to somebody who's working 2 jobs a day to make ends meet and keep a roof over their family's head, and they ask you who you voted for, you tell them, I voted for you. Because the happy fact of the matter, my friends, is this. For the United States of America, there is always another day. There is always another day. We have what it takes to make better decisions as a people. We are masters of our own destiny, and not time and not chance. And we are going to give our children a better future if we act upon that belief that, in fact, we are all in this together, and we need each other if we're going to succeed. Thank you all so very, very much for what you do.